Clue. Okay. Start. Great. Oh, I see people coming in already. Good afternoon, everyone. I see we've got lots of people coming in, so we'll give it like another minute and then we'll get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Shall we start? Do you think?
I think we can. You see the
Okay.
headphone when I don't, but
Yep. We can go ahead and start.
Okay. So welcome, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're logging in. I'm very pleased to welcome you to a webinar about the Czech Republic. So we will be talking a little bit about Prague, but mainly we will tell you what else is in the Czech Republic and how much you can see if you spend a little bit more time in the destination. I'm very happy that I'm able to co-present today with Exeter International, which is one of the top tour operators selling our region, and a very good friend of mine and a great connoisseur of Central Europe, the president of Exeter, Gwen Kozlovsky, depending how you're pronouncing it. So we will engage in sort of a conversation, I would say, about the destination, and we'll share our thoughts and our recommendations and tips, what to see and what to do in the Czech Republic.
Great. And hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. And our contact details are here, but we'll also send you a note afterwards that have them. If you do have questions during the webinar, please put them in the Q&A. You should have both a Q&A and a chat. Q&A, everyone can see the questions that you're asking, and that way we can address them at the end. So let's get started.
And I don't think I have introduced myself. So
yes, so sorry.
You see my name on the screen. So my name is Michaela Claudino, and I'm the director of Czech Tourism Office in New York. So we are at a tourism board representing Czech Republic in the US and Canada. So anything you might need in terms of looking for information, here we are in New York to help you out.
Great. So first of all, let's just talk briefly. What are we calling the Czech Republic? Is it Czech Republic? Is it Czechia? You tell me.
Right, and it's very often it confuses people. So I just want to start off by saying Czechoslovakia no longer exists. So Czechoslovakia existed until 1993. Then we sort of peacefully divorced, and we have two countries, Czech Republic and Slovakia now. However, Czech Republic is very often referred to as Czechia as well. So when you're looking for information about our country, you can either look up Czech Republic or Czechia. I'm a bigger fan of the Czech Republic name rather than Czechia.
Me too. Czech Republic just sort of flows.
Right.
So today we're talking about the Czech Republic. I thought I would just tell you a little bit about travel now. Vaccinated travelers can enter with proof of vaccination. And as I'm sure all of you know, we don't have any kind of COVID pass on our phones yet. So that just means showing your vaccination card when you enter. Czech Republic does have an arrival form. It's super easy to complete, and guests just complete it prior to arrival. And if you do have Canadian travelers, they need to be vaccinated plus have a test. So it's completely possible to enter. Really focus on vaccinated travelers. Kids have different rules. So if you have kids of different ages, we can certainly talk about that. And I was excited to see that some new nonstop flights are coming back actually to Prague next year.
That's right. So Delta and United actually both announced that they're coming back to Prague after a year and a half sort of pause caused because of the pandemic. So we will have nonstop daily flights in the summer season out of JFK and out of Newark. But of course, the destination is very easily accessible, with other European airlines and American airlines through major European hubs. And Prague, I always say Prague is always less than 2 hours from any major European capital. So it's very easy to get to. And even if you do one layover, it's not a big deal.
Yes, and even though we'll talk about it later, also Prague, to remember, very accessible by train from Berlin, from Vienna, from Munich. So it's really in the heart of Europe. One of my favorite places.
Yes.
So speaking of Czech Republic, it is more than just Prague. Prague is awesome. We love Prague, but I think a lot of Americans don't know about different places you can visit outside the city. And while there are lots of opportunities for day trips, these are some interesting spots where guests can spend the night.
Yes, that's right. So Czech Republic is quite small. And you can see that we're bordering with Poland, Germany, Austria, and Slovakia. So very often people combine the destinations as well. So maybe if you're in Germany, you can very easily, hop across the border and spend a few days in the Spa region, which is, there's a little arrow, is the western part of the country. And the Spa region is known specifically because of the so-called Spa Triangle, which are 3 beautiful spa towns. The largest one is Karlovy Vary or Carlsbad. And you might have seen it maybe in the movies, in the last holiday movie with Queen Latifah or the Casino Royale with James Bond. And also recently those 3 spa towns, Carlsbad, Marienbad, and Franzensbad, have been added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. So this was actually, I think, 3 months ago when UNESCO really recognized the importance of these towns. And the other town that you can visit after, if you're, for instance, in Germany, is the town called Pilsen, or Plzeň in Czech, which is the hometown of Czech beer, the Pilsner Urquell. It's also one of the most American cities or towns in the Czech Republic because it was the one town that was liberated by the American army after the Second World War. And this is as far as the Americans got, because from the other side, the Russians were coming. So there's a huge festival called the Freedom Festival every summer, where you feel more in America than in the Czech Republic. And then Gwen can continue on with some other suggestions.
Yes, and I did see some people in the chat that the map is too small. On our side, Zoom is already at full screen. So if you make your Zoom full screen, you should be able to see it, but don't worry, I'll send you the link afterwards. It is a handy map. My favorite areas of the Czech Republic tend to be a little bit in the south. You'll see there Český Krumlov at the bottom left. Gorgeous castle here. I know a lot of people use it as a stopover on the way to Vienna or just as a day trip, but really the magic happens here when you spend the night. And then a place that most Americans sort of don't know about that I often love to include is this Mikulov, which has the other blue arrow on the bottom. That is the center of really fantastic Czech winemaking. It's a great area with bike trails and makes a nice stopover on the way to Vienna as well. It could be a day trip, but again, a great place for overnights. And then nearby Mikulov, architecture buffs can stop in Brno, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. And then, yeah.
I see that people really refer to the home screen. So I can also see sort of your home screen and then only the PowerPoint as a slide. So I see the slides. I don't see one particular slide. Yeah.
Well, let's try to reshare that then. 1 second. I'm going to stop the share and we will reshare. Hi,
sorry.
Because
we have beautiful images and it would be really a shame not to see it in a large
Give me
setting.
1 second. And 1 moment and we will reshare. Better or not better?
I don't I don't see the screen now, but maybe
Okay,
the
one
other.
sec.
Okay.
Let's see how this one goes. What about now?
It's sort of still the slides on the side and one bigger slide in the middle, but
How strange, because I'm seeing it on mine.
okay. Well,
So
I think
sorry.
it just, yeah.
Well, everybody will get the full slideshow at the end, I promise. So
Okay.
you can just listen to us talk. So did you want to talk quickly about Olomouc?
Sure. So Olomouc is actually very often, Olomouc is in Moravia. So there are sort of two main regions in the Czech Republic, Bohemia, which is the western part of the Czech Republic, and Moravia, which is the eastern part of the Czech Republic. Two main regions per se. And Olomouc is in Moravia, and very often it is referred to as small Prague, actually. And I think it's one of the very hidden gems of the Czech Republic. It's one of the towns, I think, with the most Baroque architecture sort of like sites and monuments in the Czech Republic. It has beautiful historical squares, and it even has the astrological clock, just like Prague has. However, the Olomouc astrological clock was built in the 50s during the communism, so the decoration is slightly different, but definitely highly recommended, place to go. Great hotels there as well. Great culinary scene. So if you're looking for sort of like a undiscovered per se, town, and something similar to Prague, Olomouc would be my pick.
Great. So just to talk briefly about our highlights for the Czech Republic, I think a lot of advisors know Prague. It is a gorgeous city. I always tell people if Disney created a town in Europe, this is it. I mean, everything is beautiful and colorful and not destroyed during World War II. So very authentic. And what a lot of our guests want to see in Prague, which works really well for us, is sites related to Jewish heritage. We do have a whole lineup of guides who have expertise in this and who are Jewish. And as you can imagine, since it is the capital city, it does have the best hotels in the country, a number of great 5-star hotels, lots of great 4-star hotels. And it's really easy to fill 3 or 4 days here. And as I mentioned before, very central, easy to combine with Berlin, Vienna, Munich, even Nuremberg for people who are doing river cruises. And then Michaela, did you want to talk about a little bit about the countryside?
Yeah, so I think we will touch upon different things and different activities that people can do. So Czech Republic has 16 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So I mean, given the size of the country, it's really pretty unique. And there have been additions pretty much every year. We have great countryside as well. So the destination is perfect for sort of like soft adventure, hiking, biking, great destination for kids. And we will touch upon that as well. We have one of the highest numbers of castles and chateaus in the world, actually. So, that's another activity. After a while, you grow tired of castles and chateaus, but definitely, a must see, at least 1 or 2 during your visit. And spas, I talked a little bit about, and of course, the most famous area is the western part of the country, the Spa Triangle, but there are about 39 spa towns in the Czech Republic. And the other mention that we have here is the breweries and microbreweries, and we will talk about it when we talk about the food. But beer is really a staple drink for the Czech Republic, and
Forget about Germany, everybody. Highest per capita beer consumption in the world.
Yeah,
in Czech Republic.
Long tradition, and it has and it's also like you can do some beer trails. I mean, there's products where you can just sort of like go from place to place, and microbreweries have been growing like mushrooms. So it's it's really interesting, and a lot of family owned businesses also are in the business. So there are just some suggestions what to do in the Czech Republic. So very diverse.
Great. And also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we just don't have the sea, so we're landlocked. But other than that, you can pretty much do anything you please to.
And I think people often forget Czech Republic is great for biking. The Czech greenways are very safe and dedicated bike paths, and the national parks there are really amazing because they don't look like anything else that you would expect to see in the countryside. It's not just mountains, it's these really like otherworldly sandstone formations that have even been used for film sets. So the countryside really has a lot to offer. And I think so many Americans give, a couple days to Prague and that's it and move on, but hopefully we can change your mind. So just talking briefly about Prague, because we love Prague. It is the perfect starting point in any Czech Republic itinerary. This is one of my favorite sites. It's the Straha Monastery. It is at Prague Castle and simply stunning from the inside. Actually, one of my travelers took this picture, and you see the doors at the far end. Those are the doors where guests stand to look in unless you have special access, which we do for a lot of our travelers. And then you are standing inside these gorgeous, gorgeous rooms. Have you been inside?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Part of a really great day in the Castle District. And then coming up, we can't talk about Prague without talking about the Christmas markets. I personally am addicted to them. And the Czech Republic has several really great ones. Do you have a personal favorite?
Well, I mean, Prague is like no other place in the Czech Republic, I have to say, when it comes to Christmas markets, just because of the architecture and their whole setup. So I think it really gets you get a special treat when you just go to the Old Town Square. I think my favorite is still the Old Town Square, which we see a few images of it. And the Christmas markets usually start the last weekend of November, and in Prague go actually through the whole holidays until the end of the year. But even small towns in the Czech Republic, dress up for the holidays, and they do also have Christmas markets. And Czechs very often go and meet up and try different kinds of foods. The mulled wine is very popular, so it's the image that you see there, it's called svařák in Czech. There's a lot of sort of like traditional Czech Christmas cookies that are sold as well. So this is the gingerbread decorated, for Christmas. And, I have to say that when I was little, the Christmas markets were different. They were selling everything and anything. Now it really sort of, they respect the holiday, the holiday atmosphere, and they only sell things related to Christmas. Czech Republic is also known for its glass. So beautiful Christmas ornaments, Czech ornaments are also sold in the markets. And that's a really nice gift that you can bring back when you visit.
And I will say about the Christmas markets, you mentioned it, but just take note, these Christmas markets in Prague last all through Christmas and through the New Year. So you have many destinations in other countries where the Christmas markets have like a firm ending on December 24th. And here, if you're in Prague and it's Christmas and it's, a few days after Christmas, you still enjoy this kind of really nice festive atmosphere. That's pretty unique. So also, we have so many guests coming to us for Jewish heritage travel. This is an interior shot of one of the synagogues in the Jewish quarter. And this area in Prague is so special. We have guests, even if they're not Jewish, that visit this, but Jewish guests often spend a half day just in the Jewish quarter. There are several ancient synagogues. There's a fascinating Jewish cemetery. And Prague is just like the launching point for Jewish sightseeing in the Czech Republic, but it's definitely worth visiting.
Yeah, so the Prague Jewish Quarter is right in the historical city center. So it's very easy to explore. There's a number of synagogues. This is the Pingas synagogue that has the names of people who perished during the Holocaust. So very unique and special.
Yep. And then for people who are maybe not so into the whole old world style / I need to feel like I'm in a fairy tale, Prague is also a really interesting city. I've always found for really contemporary and modern design and even funky design, like the babies you see, the faceless babies, which freak me out, climbing up the side of the building here. On the top left, you see the dancing house. There's all kinds of modern art galleries that we can incorporate or guests can visit on their own, and really some very interesting sculptures all throughout the city.
Yeah, so this is just a few examples how sort of the old and new blend in Prague. And maybe I just stop for a second to talk about the crawling babies, because what they're crawling on is a TV tower in Žižkov, and it was once named one of the ugliest buildings in Prague because it sort of like really clashes with the landscape or with the skyline of Prague, because it's sort of like, it's too tall and too modern and stuff. So one of the Czech artists whose name is David Černý sort of decided to play a little bit with the public space, and he made these babies, and he sort of placed them on the TV tower, so it looks like they're crawling up the TV tower. So it makes it look a little bit definitely more interesting, and just like, you sort of a little bit more forgiving by, it's not only like a piece of concrete, it has some twist. So it's really nice. And the dancing house, also called Fred and Ginger, because it sort of reminds should remind you of a couple dancing. Also was quite controversial at the beginning because it's on the embankment of the river, in between like the Art Nouveau buildings. But at the end, I think it fits fairly well, and it's been one of the buildings that people come and want to see. And there's a great restaurant on top of it. So
that's just what makes Prague so interesting to me, because it's not all like stepping back in time. There's some really interesting modern components here. And another thing, I think a lot of Americans have like preconceived ideas in their head about food in the Czech Republic or in Central and Eastern Europe in general. And I would like to change that. There's some really amazing cuisine here. And I mean, we can do everything from food tasting tours to beer drinking or pub crawls with a guide that can take you into all the little tiny microbreweries. So much to offer here, really to fit all palates.
Yeah, and the traditional Czech cuisine is on the heavier side, I have to say, because we are in Central Europe and we were heavily influenced, by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So you can find schnitzel in the Czech Republic, just like you find in Germany. You can find goulash, just like you find it in Hungary, or strudel, which is the puff pastry with apples. So you find influences from all the neighboring countries. It's a cuisine that's love meat. We love our meat, so a lot of meat, but there's great choices for vegetarians as well. And especially in Prague, really the food scene has been just blooming, and there's some young Czech chefs who really work with the traditional recipes and make it a little bit more modern and smaller portions. And the dumplings might look a little cuter. They're not like the big pieces of dough, but they follow the original recipe, just make it a little bit more, let's say, pleasing to the eye and also to your health, I would say. Yeah.
Well, speaking of pleasing to the eye, if you have guests, and we've had people that are like super Instagram focused, Prague is like the center of Instagrammable food, really. And I mean, even just like the bottom left picture, that's breakfast with a view like that. I mean, you can't get better than that. So, and then let's move out of Prague now and go to South Bohemia. And this is the area we talked about before with Český Krumlov. It's one of my favorite areas, except if you ever ask me, can I do a day trip here, or can my clients stop on the way from Vienna? I'm going to try to talk you out of it and talk them into staying overnight, because so many like bus tours and people use this as a day kind of stop, that the magic isn't there from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The magic in Český Krumlov is really when you spend the night and all of the buses are gone, and it's this beautiful little walled city in the middle of the countryside, and there's so many places around it that you can see to add a few days here.
Yeah, that's right. And just, to get there would take you almost 3 hours. So just bear in mind that if you go for a day trip, you will probably spend about 6 hours in a car or a bus. So it's really, I definitely agree with Gwen that you have to spend the night. And the area, if you're driving down, if you have a private driver, or depending how you're getting down, you can stop along the way and sort of explore the region as well. South Bohemia is one of the most picturesque regions in the Czech Republic. There are quite a few UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So for instance, Holašovice, which is like the little icon above Český Krumlov, is, like a village preserved in a sort of a rural Baroque style. So you can stop there, walk and see beautiful houses. There's, of course, more castles and chateaus. For instance, the Hluboká Castle, which is one of the most beautiful in the country. It was built in the sort of English style, so sort of like a whitish castle, a beautiful place. So you don't have to rush just to see one place and just rush back to Prague. Take your time, stop along the way, and explore the whole region.
Yes. And just to show you what you'd be seeing if you spend the night, I mean, look at that. There are great little boutique hotels in Český Krumlov. Small, really elegant little spots, and really gives your guests a nice gateway into this region. And Český Krumlov, the town, is beautiful for a walking tour. They have a really nice castle up on the hill that also has a Baroque theater that looks like this. And this is really one of only two in Europe, one in Sweden outside of Stockholm, and this one.
Yeah, and it's another hidden gem. So if you go see the castle in Český Krumlov, this is actually in the castle. You have to book the tour beforehand, and because they only allow a certain number of visitors. It's not open for public for performances, but I know that, for instance, when dignitaries from other countries come, they can welcome them there, and they do a little performance. And you can do a backstage tour. They take you, explain how it worked. I actually went and did a backstage tour, and they show you the props, how they used to move it with like ropes. They show you the sound effects and everything. So it's definitely worth visiting this place. It's small, but make sure you book your tour.
Yes, and I know I said we'd save questions till the end, but I saw Tamsin just messaged. And yes, castles in the Czech Republic in the countryside, not in Prague, but in the countryside, are generally closed from November 1st through March 31st. So when we're talking about these areas like Český Krumlov and what we'll talk about next in Moravia, I would say like April through October is the best time to go. In the more shoulder season you can do with your guests, the better for crowds and nice weather. But yes, November 1st through March 31st, generally all these castles are closed. So let's leave Český Krumlov then and go to Moravia, which is an area I love to spend time in. You don't see it on this map. It was on the previous one, but I'll make sure you have both. But we like to base people in the tiny little village of Mikulov. And from here, there are a lot of things you can do as a day trip. We said before, it's like winemaking, biking, so much to do here. And just so you can see what we're looking at, this is taken from the top of the town in Mikulov, and that's what's surrounding it. So there's just beautiful countryside and also some Jewish heritage sites here as well. It's just a really great base for like 2, maybe 3 nights, or as long as guests would like to spend.
Right. And this is really close to the border with Austria. So if you, for instance, fly into Vienna, it will take you an hour to go by car to Mikulov or to Brno, which is the largest, which is like the capital of the region. So very easily combinable. So you can, for instance, fly to Vienna, and go to Prague from the other side, from like the from the east, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes it's shorter.
Yeah, it's shorter. And Moravia and the southern Moravia, it's really a beautiful region. It's known as a wine region as well. So Czech Republic, we Czechs love their beer, but we also have a wine region. So not a lot of people know about that, but this region, South Moravia, is known for its wine production, specifically for the production of white wines. And they're quite good. I mean, they won some awards, international awards. The reason why we don't know so much about them, let's say in the US, is that the production is quite small and most of it is consumed in the Czech Republic. So very few, wines go for export. Right. So and there are tons of wine cellars, and so that's another activity that you can definitely do in the region. And
or you can see pretty castles.
Yeah, and in September you can do their wine festival. So in September you can enjoy the wine festivals as well, where they do wine tasting, etc. And so this is another UNESCO World Heritage site in the Czech Republic. It's called the Lednice Valtice complex, and it's actually one of the largest landscape areas in Europe. So I always say it's like a Czech Versailles, sort of. So if you imagine 2 beautiful castles connected with, like a landscape parks. So it's a complex of parks, ponds, paths, trails, biking trails as well. And it's really very unique and beautiful. And this was built, I know, from the 17th century all the way to the 20th century. So it took almost 300 years to finish and build. And it's definitely worth visiting. I was there actually this summer with my kids, and we can easily spend 2 days there just wandering and visiting the castles, etc.
Yeah,
And
it's
one more,
beautiful.
yeah, one more thing, if we're talking about the kids, the castles have guided tours for kids as well, which is great. So I have two little kids, and it can be a little boring if they always talk about the history, but now most of the castles offer guided tours for kids and in English as well. And they actually let you borrow like costumes. So, my little girl was dressed as a princess walking through the castle. She loved it. I mean, she was like head over heels with that.
That's awesome because my son, I mean, he's 14 now, so he's too cool for that. But when he was younger, he loved the kid focused tours, and that really helps them connect with the destination, I think. But Mikulov is more than just castles because, as we mentioned before, wine tasting, and these are like super small, regional, family-owned wineries, great white wines, and really unique, not because there is anything bad about them. They just never make it to the US, like you said, because very small production. We can do private wine tastings here. You see these people wine tasting on bike. That's pretty brave. But great bike trails in this region. And look at this, one of the largest cave systems in Central Europe. So, I mean, really also a cool family activity or for people who like some light adventure.
Yeah, it's called Moravian Karst, and it's like an hour long, I think, or maybe hour and a half long tour you get, and you hop on a small boat and you can go on the rivers through the caves. It's really neat.
Very cool. So just talking about the Czech Republic in general, like who should be going to the Czech Republic? So art and architecture is always a really big interest for our guests. And you might think I just took a picture of a random house and put it here, but this is actually a really, really unique visit in the Czech Republic. It is in Brno, which is near Mikulov, and it is called Villa Tugendhat. It's from Mies van der Rohe. And for people who like interior design or architecture or even like historical architecture, this is a must visit. I love last minute bookings. That's like all I get now, but this one requires some planning. And especially if guests want to see it privately, we need at least 3 to 6 months to plan a private tour here, but they do offer group tours as well.
Yeah. And this is a very unique house. I always say that this house sort of tells the history of Czechoslovakia, which was before we split, or Czech Republic. Just very briefly, the house was built in 1930s, I believe, for a Jewish family, the Tugendhats, who commissioned the house, from Mies van der Rohe. They only lived there for 8 years, and it was like top of the line sort of, house with all the technical equipment, like windows, heating system, amazing. It's a prime piece of modernism. They only lived there for 8 years, and they had to leave because of the Nazis. So they left, Europe. Then the Nazis made their offices in this house. When the Russian army liberated Czechoslovakia at that time, in 1942, the Russians moved into the house, and they stayed pretty much throughout, the whole almost 40 years of communism, or the communists took over. There was a daycare there was like a gym. So people really don't know what the architectural gem it is. Almost destroy it. But then after the changes in 89, of course, people came back and realized how important it was. And it was restored to its original glory in 2001. And it was open to the public. And it's really sought after by a lot of architects and people who are into modernism and functionalism.
For sure. I had a whole group of interior designers that were in Prague for a convention, but we arranged a side trip to this, and it was really amazing. So definitely art and architecture. And again, not just like all his, super fairy tale, like Baroque and medieval. And then culinary travel. I mean, I know we touched on restaurants a little bit earlier. There are restaurants literally for everyone and every taste in the Czech Republic. But there are also some really great experiences your guests can do. That could be anywhere from food tasting, walking tours, microbrewery tours. We have hands-on cooking classes for all ages. And even in Prague, a cool young chef who invites people right into his apartment and makes dinner for them. So there's so much, we see so much of a focus now on bringing in the culinary elements into programs, and the Czech Republic is perfect for that.
That's right. And maybe just a brief explanation of what you see here. So this is a very typical snack for in the Czech Republic. It's called chlebíček. Chlebíček is means small bread. So chleba is bread. Chlebíček is small bread. So in other words, like open-faced sandwiches that are great snacks or light light lunch. And it's like a piece of bread with the spread, and then decorated or with different things. So it could be a piece of ham, some veggies, some cheese, anything you might think of. It tastes great, but it also has to look nice. So that's one of the prerequisites for
And
the
it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then we talked a lot about the countryside. When people really want to do the countryside, it is a bit challenging to do that by train. And not everybody has the budget to hire a private driver the whole time, which if your guests want to do it, of course, we can arrange that. But I do want to stress how stress-free and simple it can be to drive in the Czech Republic. When we actually decided to start offering self-drive programs, our founder and I, we just went to Prague in January and just started driving. And it's, if you have guests that have driven in France or in Italy or Spain or even England, Czech Republic is going to seem like an easy dream to them. There are no like crazy autobahns where there's scary speeds. It's mostly like normal country roads or very small highways. We give guests that are booking with us a fully pre-programmed GPS before they start. So literally you just go and plug in and start driving. And we also give them like sort of an answer key to European road signs, because you're learning from my own mistakes. And I didn't take that and I had no idea what half the signs meant. But the option of driving yourself really gives guests unfettered access to all the best parts of the countryside and allows for some serendipity if they just are driving through a pretty village and they want to stop. So I can just say from an American perspective, it's not an intimidating driving place.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. I don't know what to add, but I agree. Just be mindful that the distances, we are on a metric system. So, the distances are in kilometers, not miles, but very easy to get around and, accessible. Even the smallest villages are accessible, by the infrastructure is great, basically. So
right. And I will say I've driven in several countries because we always test out our self-drive routes before we offer them. And this Czech Republic really is one of the most scenic because it is relatively small. So you're not going through like wide swaths of nothingness or like industrial. It's really just village after village and very scenic and rolling hills. And it's a great way to see the country. So I know we talked briefly about family travel. I just want to say, even before in the years before COVID, but especially now, we're seeing a lot more families, multi-gen trips, and Czech Republic really can cater to a wide variety of ages. The more you find out about the family and what each, age level likes, the more that can be incorporated in. You see a family here biking, but there can be hands-on activities in Prague, hands-on marionette making or art, or meeting other local families, or just tailoring the sightseeing to the kids' particular interests. And everything we do here at Exeter, and I know Michaela as well, is like road tested on our own kids. So we're not just making things up that sound good. We've done it with our own kids, so it works.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have 2 little kids and I'm Czech. My husband is American, but the kids are growing up in the US. So I always think about things I'm going to do with them when I bring them back to the Czech Republic, and we do go every summer, at least once a year. And it's really easy. I mean, it's very kid-friendly destination. So starting with playgrounds, accessible, throughout the city, everywhere. Great parks. We didn't mention it, but Prague is very green. So there are great parks. If you need to escape the hustle and bustle of the city, even in the city, you can, really find your peace. But Czechs are really keen on sort of going on short trips and excursions and hiking and biking. They love hiking and biking. Actually, Czech Republic has one of the highest densities of sort of marked trails in the world. So you can easily, if you have a car, hop on a train and get off. And then you see these color-coded trails or marked trails, and it says, okay, this is like 5 kilometers to go to this next castle. And you just go and, it's fun. There are also a lot of outdoor parks for kids. So like, sort of like activity parks. I've discovered those the last 4 years. And, they have like things to climb on and play with water and stuff like that. We also have great ponds and rivers. So for instance, whitewater rafting is extremely popular in the Czech Republic. And again, it's nothing to, you don't have to worry that there's going to be like strenuous.
It's not class 5.
Not class 5, exactly. So it's very family oriented. You can rent a raft in Český Krumlov, for instance, and go, down the river. Very popular for Czech families as well. And then the hiking, biking, and as Gwen said, we don't have. I mean, we have mountains mostly in the northern part of the country, bordering with Poland. But it's not like strenuous climbing and going, downhill. It's very rolling hills, and you can find a pass that's pretty much flat along the water, for instance. So for every shape and sort of physical activity, you can find whatever fits you the best.
Great. Yeah, it's really, I all of the families we send there really, really love it. And even if you do have families that only have time to spend in Prague, like guides can make scavenger hunts for kids, or we can really do like fun food things with them. So there's always something with families here. And then we'll just leave you with a beautiful summertime shot of Prague just to see how beautiful it is. And we really appreciate you participating. I will take a look at the Q&A. I noticed there are a couple there. Where are the caves and hiking located? So, I mean, the cave system is in Moravia. So you could do that as sort of a long day trip from Prague, or as a base if you're staying in Mikulov, that would be easier. Hiking, that could be anywhere. So
that's right. Yeah, you can really, I always say, even in the city center in Prague, you just hop on a public transportation and you go to the last stop, and there's there's numerous hikes. Like, you can go and hike for like 2 hours. And it applies to most of the towns or cities where you are. But if you're really looking for, like a more mountainous, let's say, excursion, then for instance, if you're in Prague, then you can go to Bohemia in Switzerland, which is about 2 hours north of Prague. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place where, some of the famous movies were filmed, for instance, the Chronicles of Narnia. So like the sandstone formations and, those sort of like a very, very nice areas where you can visit. That's about 1.5 hours north of Prague. Yeah.
Yeah, good hiking everywhere, really. I will say, Roxana commented, if clients don't drive, can you do the countryside suggested villages by train? Not so much. You can do Karlovy Vary by train. You can do Pilsen by train. Pilsen's not a village, though. That's a town. Český Krumlov is not really accessible. I think the train only goes as far as Český Budějovice, and then you're either like trying to find taxis in the countryside or taking a bus, which most guests don't want to do. So I say be brave, drive, or we can do private drivers as well.
Yeah, it really depends, how well traveled you are. I mean, I have to say, as much as I like the self-drive itinerary, I have to say that even the small villages are connected by trains or buses. So it's easy, but, you have to sort of, in the smaller towns, you might have sometimes difficulty to, find somebody who speaks good English, or it might be a little bit more difficult, but it's the places are connected by train, so you can do it. Yeah.
If you have intrepid clients, it can work. That's the answer. If they're not afraid of trains, because they're not like super high speed like the German trains or anything, they're local trains. So if they're not afraid of trains and they have packed light enough luggage that they can carry their own bags, then the trains can work. And Heather asked, where's the Narnia location again? That's Bohemian, Switzerland, yes?
Yeah, that's north of Prague, so towards the border with Poland. We can.
And sometimes we do that actually on the way to Dresden. So
yeah,
also doable.
Actually, yeah, that can be done as a day trip from Prague. It's not far from Prague, and it can be done as a day trip.
Tamsin, do I require a planning fee to deposit? So we will always do a first outline of any program, self-drive or not, for no commitment from the clients at Exeter. If they want to tweak it, if they want to make changes, then we do ask for a planning deposit. It's not a separate fee. It applies 100% towards the final payment. It's only $250 total, not per person. But we'll always do at least a rough draft for you, especially if you already know the basic areas of where the guests want to go, and it'll have a pretty firm price. We'll check availability, so you have that without any commitment from the guests. So I think that's all we had for questions. I will send everyone a link and everyone a PDF of the actual PowerPoint. And if anyone has any other questions, you have our emails, you'll have our emails on that. And we loved having this time with you.
Yes, well, thank you so much for logging in, for your interest in the Czech Republic. And as Gwen said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.